Hello, I'm Oji, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live with me. Many times been on the program, colleague, friend, Mr. Wendell Moore. How you doing, Mr. Moore?
Well, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me, Oral. I always appreciate the call at all times when it comes to discussing issues related to our community.
Well, it's good to have you on the program. How are things going so far with you?
Well, I'm trying to make the best of it, to be honest, because there is a lot that is keeping me occupied, especially when it comes to my daily work as a journalist. And, you know, I do have my website now where I take time and do a lot of writing. And as a result of that, it do keep me occupied. But I have to be up to par with what's going on. So that's enough on my plate to begin with.
So what's your website address?
cmorejournal.com. It's a journal page.
Okay.
And journal, like everyone who are familiar with this word, is more of documenting certain things. So I don't cover everything. And you don't necessarily have to see it as, for the first time, you would see exclusive reporting.
Yeah.
But I take the time to document these things that people can always make reference to where to find it. That's in the journal, cmorejournal.com.
You've also been in radio and TV for many years now.
Yeah, well, other than when I'm invited for a TV show like this, I'm more often doing the stream with the live show that I do on PGD2 Daily.
Yeah.
And that is as far as it goes with television. But when it comes to broadcasting in general, I am on radio all day, every day, and I have to mingle and hear from some of our citizens, most of whom then are very dissatisfied with the way things are. And I think it has a lot to do with, as a personal assessment that I can make of our community, how much of a community we have in terms of support, and whether or not it has been built on the basis of government intervention and putting social things in place so that we can live in a community. And that's why these people are making all this noise.
But no, I think the average person don't realize what people like you and I go through, because people come with all their problems to you most of the time.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, you must be able to speak out and say something when you are bothered by anything. And there are a lot of discrepancies in our community that needs to be addressed that is not being addressed. I think too much focus is on business. And there's nothing wrong with having plenty of business. But there are times when you get the feeling that St. Martin is pretty much like a mall, a shopping mall, where it's only business activities that is going on.
And the social problems.
We also have a social community as well, because those people who are working in all those businesses, they have to leave their work environment and go home in a village or in a community where people lives, and a lot of times they're to themselves because they're so preoccupied with work, because people have to do 2 and 3 jobs. We have to take a second look at what we are building when it comes to a living community on St. Martin, not necessarily the business opportunities that are so popular and prevalent, but what about the communities where people live?
Well, in case you've just joined us, I'm Oral. This is Oral Gibbs Live. My guest is Mr. Wendell Moore. He's the man on radio every day on PGD2 Radio. There are 2 different shows you do on PGD2, right?
Yeah, I do have my own interactive show on a Wednesday afternoon. Okay. That is more an arrangement I have with the station to do a show outside of my commitment to the daily 12 o'clock show that I do on PGD2.
It's amazing how radio changed. I started off in radio.
I was just about to interrupt you and say all of which you have started, because it started with you.
Well, I started off in New York in 1978. That's a long time ago. And when you look at radio today, it's a big, huge difference.
I don't know if it's a fair thing to say to you, because I would want to believe that you understood the commitment that we have as broadcast media to play our role in the development of our country. So this may not apply to you, but people have to realize the role that we play. And it's one that we have to be committed to, because people must be able to explain and express themselves about things that concerns them, as well as those who are doing the politicians then who are doing the leadership of this country as to where we're going. They should be accountable to the people. But if we don't understand the importance of this and the change overall, things have changed when it comes to social media.
Oh man, it's incredible, huh?
Is everyone who have no idea or no clue of the importance of what they put out there, just drop it, and you can't be sure that it's accurate.
Well, you know, we have the social media reporters now.
Yeah. Case in point.
It's scary though, huh? People don't realize it.
It must be scary, because our responsibility as professionals in journalism is to verify information before you put it out. And you have to get credible people who would speak towards whatever issue, because they come qualified, or they are the ones responsible for whatever the issue is. So we have a level of responsibility that we have to make sure that we're not misleading, because you can be responsible for any kind of chaotic thing that may come in your community.
But as the guy at NBC said, look, we are broadcasters, and it's different. It's a distinction between broadcaster and social media reporters who basically don't really know what they're doing. The other day I saw, we had a lot of rain, and there was this woman reporting on the weather. And it's unbelievable. She doesn't know a thing about the weather, but she's reporting on the weather and sending a video of, oh, we can't see Simbrato. Hey, idiot, you can't see Simbrato. You know why? Because it's raining. You know, you scare the hell out of people, and you don't know what you're doing. That's the danger of social media.
Yeah. And speaking of that particular aspect of the weather, I think the weather, the people who are responsible here have a real challenge on their hand, and I know that they have been asking people to not listen to those persons on social media, but that's the freedom they have, because social media is accessible. But you have to be very careful with what you put out there. So they're having a challenge, because they're having competition regarding the responsibility that they have to the community to make sure that we are properly informed as to what weather system coming our way.
Well, but they haven't been, on all fairness, they haven't been too accurate in a while.
Man.
I'm kind of disappointed in the weather reports that come out and the notices that come from DECOM. Scares the hell out of the community. They're always off. And the time when they're on, it's going to be a disaster, because people are going to say, hey, but these guys are always off, so we're not going to listen to them.
May I just make reference to something most recent? I think it was a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday. We had some inclement weather.
Right.
And it's because of a system that was passing through. Now, people need to realize when it comes to the weather, I spent quite a lot of time, Oral, dealing with the weather issue, because at the time when I was handling, when I was working with AVS, I had to make sure we had a weather update every time. You say you're disappointed. I think I'm on the same page when it comes to the type of information we get out of our weather here. They don't always seem to be anywhere near being accurate. And there's so much support system when it comes to the Weather Channel in Miami and elsewhere that provide weather information to make sure that most areas are covered. So that reference that I'm making to the Sunday, when the Monday, I believe it was, the weather it was passing through. I knew, and I dropped it on one of my social media page. I think it was Twitter, which is now X, for those who follow me there. That was a bad call when the minister decided that because of inclement weather, they were going to close school the following day, which was a perfect day. And we knew it was going to be perfect because the weather is just passing through.
Yeah. So,
but he mentioned that they were in consultation with the weather department, who advised So they're not taking any responsibility for that decision either.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's being cute or what have you. But if these things need to be looked at and to be better verified so that we can properly serve our people, it's worth me saying it, even though I may get into trouble.
You see, the thing is that I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of the gentleman who's in charge of the Met Office. Many times politicians use their influence and intimidate people in those positions. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was head of the Government Information Service, there were issues that they had, and I remember James saying to me, look, ministers come and go, he'll be there. But James was very good weatherman.
Yes.
Very accurate. Up to today, we still use his information because he's so accurate. But the thing is that what I'm concerned about is that we're getting these weather reports. DCOM is just throwing them out all the time. And the day is going to come when something is going to happen. And the people are not going to follow those reports because they've been saying all the time, well, nothing happened, so I'm not going to worry with it. And that's the danger. That's what I'm afraid of. That's going to happen.
You want to go back to Irma a little bit? You know, you thank heavens that nowadays you're able to go online and see images of the weather system as it actually, is churning. You watch, they have active movement satellite images that you can look at. And I think our weather department here failed us miserably not to let us know that this thing was passing exactly over us. But everyone else was saying it.
Well, they didn't have a radar, by the way, so in all fairness to them at the time, the radar was still not up. It's only up now, I think, for the last 8 months, So they were relying on other radars out of Puerto Rico, etc., Guadeloupe, Martinique, those places.
But they can get advice, and I'm sure they have connections with the Weather Channel in...
yeah, they're all connected now, yeah.
Yeah. So that, but we need to know exactly what the system is going to be like so that we can prepare ourselves. I think it's disheartening when you would get a report saying that there's going to be, when it's a flash flood, that the flash flood part is uncertain as to how dangerous it could be. But when it has to be a hurricane or even a system developing close by, we need to depend on our department because they are the only person who's supposed to give us official information. But I can assure you that there are a lot of people who often would go to the Weather Channel in Miami and get their information.
Which is not good. We should be able to take our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's our own is the official information that we have to rely on.
Right.
But when we are finding discrepancies in it that is being inaccurate or not completely the way it is, all the weather systems, you cannot bank on it being what you probably thought it would be sometimes, simply because the weather is unpredictable. There's no way that you can actually predict weather. You can only assume that this is what it's going to be because it can change dramatically.
But we're getting very accurate now.
I would hope that slowly we are moving towards better preparing ourselves because we're talking a lot of stuff about even independence. And I don't know if we are just throwing this out there, but I think we have a system that we're in within our constellation at the moment that gives us the opportunity to prepare ourselves. And I don't know how much of a challenge. Huh?
Prepare? You mentioned independence. Oh, you know that I've stood for independence all my life, right? But I'm a little worried now because as a person who believes in political independence, I don't think we have the right people right now to take us down that path.
Well, that's the whole point. I think the problem is the element of trust. And they have not demonstrated that they can be trusted for us to even venture there anytime soon. There are those who advocate for it. There are those who believe in it. And I think all people should have that aspiration of wanting to one day be responsible for ourselves, taking control of ourselves. But when you can't trust people because you don't see them working in the best interest of building and providing adequate information and knowledge of our system as it is and why it's necessary for us to think about moving to another system, the people still find themselves locked into our colonial system.
So tell me, how the politicians treat you?
I'm always on the chopping block world because I always echo the sentiments of the disgruntled people in our community who are very disheartened and dissatisfied with what's going on. So I am always one who would appear to be along with them when in fact, again, like we have just said about our responsibility, it's our responsibility to make sure that we provide the kind of information that would help our citizens be up to the level where they should when they understand their civic duties.
Were you surprised to see your prime minister rapping?
Oh, I saw that thing on. I don't know what to make of it all, to be honest with you, because I am sure that as far as I am concerned, most people see me as a serious person, and I'm serious about what I'm doing because that's my nature. I don't play around. So when I say something, you have to basically wait and realize, wait a minute, this is something serious because it comes from Wendell. So I build that for myself. But I don't know, maybe you want to appeal to a younger crowd or whatever. And, in the business and the development of AI and all this kind of stuff, people are saying maybe it's not her and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, they really need to survey and do an assessment of the approach and realize what people think of them when it comes to that.
It's crazy because I don't
know what to make of it, Oral.
I was speaking to some people yesterday, and they said, "Did you see the video?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it, but hey, look."
Take it with a grain of salt.
That's what she's want to do, fine. But the person said, "But she said she's God's chosen." If she was God chosen, the person said to me, she would have gotten more votes than Jurundi. I said, well, I'm not going there. But when I went back and watched the video, she said she's God chosen.
I didn't spend that much time to listen to the lyrics. I was taken aback by it because, some of the gestures, are not in keeping with serious people, you know what I mean, who understand that they have a role and responsibility. I don't know. Listen, I am going to go on record of having said I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know what the motive or the objective is, what they plan to accomplish by it.
Yeah.
Somebody need to come out and say whether they had anything to do with it, and maybe it's AI. I don't know. And AI, folks, is this artificial intelligence stuff what we're dealing with, where someone can take off your head and put my head on your body.
Yeah, it's dangerous. But look, for me, whatever the politician want to do, that's their problem. I don't care as long as you run the country the right way. And I have a problem right now with the way the country is running, and I should have a problem, and I should speak about it because I'm living here. I have children. And I'm worried about the future of this island more than ever before because we're going down a dangerous path where this country is in huge debt. We got out of the Nelson Tillies because of a 5 billion guilder debt, and now we're heading that same path in less than. It took the Nelson Tillies, 40, 50 years to arrive at that 5 billion guilder debt. It took us less than 12 years to arrive at more than 1 billion guilders debt. That's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of debt, this whole liquidity issue that we have been dealing with ever since, the hurricane and right after we were hit with the pandemic, no one were forthcoming with any real information about how bad our financial or treasury was, but it was evident because everything came to a standstill. And we had no way of money coming into the country because everything was shut down. And we had to get that help from Holland, thank heavens, when they came and they assessed and realized how much the hurricane really had damaged St. Martin, that they really need to make funds available. But all of this now has become a loan, although it's without interest. But now they are looking for more liquidity support. And I understand that when we were making the comeback, as far as our economy is concerned, that it's not going to quickly generate the same kind of money that it was bringing in before to be able to sustain the government having enough money in their coffers to pay their bills. So the money has to come from somewhere. And everybody were getting their salaries at the end of the month. So we had to get this money. The 550 million came in, and when the pandemic set in, we had to get more money to be able to carry government paying these bills. And even now, they have said that the economy is pretty much not back to where it's supposed to be, but pretty much there. And we're still looking for more liquidity support for projects. And we have to make sure that we comply with the request of the Dutch in terms of the conditions to be able to make this happen. You remember the Coho issue, which would have put the Dutch themselves to police the way things are done in these islands to make sure that they are happening. That went out the window because I mean, come on, you can't be policing people in such a manner.
It's still happening. It's just being done in a
different way. Yeah, well, they change it now to this new system, which gives us now the power to make these changes or these law changes.
It's an illusion of power, by the way.
I would agree because behind it all is what they're doing in the Netherlands. Yeah. But we are the front people. They just put in it, okay, then you do it.
No, I had the state secretary here.
Yes.
Here. And 5 days later, the government felt she's out of job. And I spoke with her about the debt problem we have. She said it's not a big issue because the GDP ratio is what, 44%. That's what the Netherlands debt to GDP ratio is. I beg to differ with her on St. Martin because I've seen other figures even come now from projections from the IMF. But at the same time, if the Dutch government doesn't see a concern, that sends a message to all politicians. Go ahead, guys. Put yourself in more debt.
But that's what it's going to end up coming to, because we're going to have, now they're talking about, I think 6 to 8% on the debt that we have now. At one point, it was you borrow 800 million, you pay back 800 million. But now it's going to be 800 million plus a percentage. So why are we going after more money for liquidity support when, well, they seem to be tying it in with Aruba and Curacao. For what reason, I don't know, but Aruba has been objecting to some of the conditions that the Dutch put on them to be able to have access to more liquidity support. But the question is whether or not we need this money, realizing that we are putting ourselves in further debt when in fact we are saying that our economy has come back to a certain level. I don't know. They're the ones who have to make the call, but we have to document these things so that later on, they too would have to take responsibility for the decision they make to burden us with a certain amount of debt that's going to be there for quite some time.
You mentioned earlier on the program that you look at St. Martin, it's all about business.
Yeah.
And nothing about social issues and so forth. We're going through some very difficult times right now. People are really suffering. And people say, well, people are not suffering. Look at St. Martin. Things looking great. Almost everyone driving a nice new car. But that's an illusion also.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people suffering on this.
Keyword. It's interesting you use that because I had a connection with a lady from Canada who was doing business here. And one of the things she said, she left and she went back to Canada. She says that the possibility to do business is so easy But it's an illusion, because at the end of the day, the activity doesn't match, the business activity doesn't match the social conditions when you have to go to the government building and get this and get that, and how difficult it is to get these things and everything else. So it's a living here is one thing, doing business is another.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're doing business, and that's why there are so many people, well, you're not aware of this, but there are a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say you're not aware, because you may know a lot more than I do, but there are people who have businesses here or who are in cohesion or jointly doing business with people here that live elsewhere, and the stock belongs to them, not those who are here. And a lot of them are in local business names.
Yeah.
The stock belongs to another group of people, and when things are not going the way it's supposed to, or when they probably reach to a point, they sell the stock to somebody else. And then you have these people coming in, and they come in, oh, those are the new business owners. New business owners? So we are more like a business playing field where people can make tons and tons of money. And
when you say the stock, explain that, because I want my audience to understand what you mean by.
Well, talking about the maybe on the market, it has a certain value, and that value is based on the turnovers, and these turnovers that they're doing here, which is often a lot, when it goes into the bank, the persons who own that part of the business, because they're seen more as the investors, they put a certain amount of money in, but then it's protected by limitations when it comes to what those who are running the business day-to-day doing here.
What the directors can do as opposed to the shareholders.
The shareholders. I think the better word for them to understand would be the shareholders. Yeah. Because those are the ones who are usually selling their share to somebody else, their share to somebody's, in terms of the value of the business and its turnover.
I think what has happened to on the island is that we have priced young people, young professionals, locals, completely out of the real estate market. The prices are so high, but that's caused by outsiders who are coming in that have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that has driven up the cost.
But people who own real estates on the island, I think when they put their pricing on, I mean, when you say one, you want to say two, which is the value. The real estate value in St. Martin seems to be very, very, very high. People think, oh, to have a piece of property in St. Martin is prestigious, because nothing starts where you and I can afford anymore. It's only the big spenders. So a lot of what's going on here is owned by people on the outside who can afford. And when they build or when they put it on the market for rent or the kind of stuff, it's going to be way above people who are making minimum wage, which is most of us. Can't even look at those things, because even the average persons, locals, who may have property and want to rent it, are not even looking at putting a price tag, a rent tag on their available property in a way that the local can. They only see investors, people who are coming into the business. So the price tag is going to be one-bedroom apartment, $1,500, and it's like, I can't pay $1,500 for a one-bedroom apartment. I can't. So it's beyond me.
Yeah, but I think the other thing is that the workers are also a problem. I'll tell you why. The other day, one of the plumber called the guy. He said it's going to be $60 for me to come and look at it before I do. I said, thank you, but no thanks. I'm not using your service. I think we have to change. You can't have a guy coming to cut your yard. And one guy came to cut my yard one time. He said $800. I cut my yard myself. You know, they're crazy. So here you have, yes, we complain about cost of living, the big companies, the little guys screwing us too, unfortunately.
Well, the thing is, if I'm going to be fair, I would say that it's the kind of culture that it's more like a hustle. than really anything else. So they're going to make their prices high,
But
but
maybe it's different too, Wendell. You know why I say that? When they see me, they charge me more money because they see me on TV.
Yes.
So so I have more money because I'm on TV? It's crazy. But you charge the other guy $150, you're going to charge me $800, or you want $60 to come and see the work? It's not good.
Well, the system also suggests that you got to make it when you get it.
So you don't experience that they charge you more money because you're on the radio?
Yeah, of course, people look at me and think they don't know that my pocket is almost empty every time, and it's not that. I'm not saying that I don't have, but I have to be moderate and careful with the way I spend because things are so expensive.
Yeah, but they charge us
But
more money.
it doesn't mean that I'm making a ton load of money either.
And what I don't like about it, this is the first time I'm saying it. These are the same people who come and complain to me about how the employer is treating them, how this person they work for, they're not paying them, and then they come and abuse me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I see it. Like, you abuse me now because I'm doing a TV show, and when you have a problem, you still got to come to me. And I don't like about this bit. I think people, and that's why I've slowed down a little bit, because people see you and they see problem. You know, I don't know if you experienced this. I did a show one time, said, everybody should call in, tell me something good, what's happening, what's nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that's great and nice. Nobody talk. It's only problems. I'm gonna call over. Call me when you got something nice to know, but they don't do that.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
I wonder if you were the first one who mentioned illusion tonight. But basically, that's what it is. The illusion comes from people who are chasing after rainbow. And when it comes to some of what you would experience, whether or not people see you to be a certain way, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are right, that you have enough money you can afford to close your eyes and pay them whatever they are. I have a policy where I feel that when someone charges you a certain amount of money for a particular job, maybe you shouldn't even question it because you don't know what they're going through. But you can tell when something is overdone. And this is what you're talking.
Yeah,
this is what you're probably talking about. But there's a certain illusion in our community where people look at what's happening as if there's lots of money or lots of things going on, and that also allows them to jack their prices up too as well.
Look, my car is 18 years old. When I'm driving the road now, people here trying to stop me as a gypsy. You know, so, can you imagine it? And my car drives smooth. It's like a Mercedes Benz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a Nissan, but it's great. Start it up in the morning, it goes. I have no problem with it at all. My wife says to me, "You got to get rid of that car, man." But I don't want to get rid of it because it takes me where I want to go. Mm-hmm. I was driving over here this morning.
It's not about having a big car or a name brand as such, because
comfort
of
too,
who you are.
And the car drives smooth. My children don't like to drive in it because it looks bad. But hey, look, it's a real nice car in terms of drive. You get a comfortable, smooth drive. But it's 18 years old. And why get rid of it if it's working? You know, but I see so much waste on this island where people are putting themselves in huge debt, buying all these new fancy cars, you know, and within 2 or 3 years, mm-hmm. the car that you purchased for $40,000 is valuable at $12,000, $15,000.
I mean, this conversation we're having is one where some people might even want to question the relevance, but the truth is we have to now begin to make an assessment of where we are as a community, as a people, and all of those variables that we're talking about does add into the importance of us doing a personal assessment and not leaving ourselves get carried away with this practice. Because right after the hurricane, I see people buying new cars and all that kind of stuff and everything else. And it was plenty, and the car dealers, they are just pushing their cars, which is business. But we as a people have to realize that we need to continue burdening ourselves with this financial commitment, both to the bank and to these car dealers, when we can have a little bit more flexibility at home in terms of being able to do other things for ourselves, not having this burden and pressure of having to pay for a new car. We have to do this personal assessment if we're going to go anywhere.
Yeah, the other day I passed, I saw a person with a luxury vehicle, and I'm not going to mention the brand, but it's top line. And they're in a shack.
Yeah.
I just can't figure that out. Look, you live your life however you want, but when you got your problem, don't come to me, because you enjoy yourself on the road. I enjoy myself in my home. I put value on certain things. And I think what has happened in St. Martin today, and the reason I brought it up, because that's part of the social problems that we have. The pressure to look like everyone else, the pressure to look like you're doing well, that you have everything. And I don't live my life to show no one anything anymore. I don't care anymore about what you think about me. I put on what I want, I walk what I want, that's it. But the average person, there's this competition here that you got to be better than the other guy. So I got to buy a bigger car, bigger this, a bigger that. And in the end, we have all these problems crashing down on us. That's just my opinion on the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it's real. Every day you can see it. And you mentioned about where they live when they are engulfed in this illusionary lifestyle of making sure you want to be like the Joneses. Some of them may be there or may have a nice home too as well, but they are the spending style. When you go into their fridge, you can probably make a bed in there because there's so much room. People. The thing is, we need to do some assessment here, but it's not encouraged by our leadership, by the social system that we are totally ignoring. Because if we were burdened by this, look, most recently, and I would like to not apologize, but give my condolences to the family that lost this young person who killed themselves. But we've been having quite a lot of people who have committed suicide. It sends a message that people are having other problems that are not on the mind of or average people. Pressure to be like, pressure to do like, all of those things come down on you like a thunderbolt at a given point. If you are not doing a personal assessment and making some personal adjustment in your life and your family, and all of these are affecting us severely, Oral.
I don't want to comment on suicide, etc., because they don't know what's going through that person's mind at the time. And
it's hard to tell, yes.
Exactly. And my mother always told me, never take your own life. My mother was a very religious person. My father also. That was one commitment. She said she want all the children to never do. But we are all individuals. So I never get into it because you never know what that young man or young woman was going through in their life, And at the same time, people say, well, look at Wendell earlier talking. Why should they be talking? I'll tell you why we should be talking about the things I mentioned, brought up to you with the cars. Because ultimately, in the end, those same people come to you and I when they have a problem, you see? And they don't go to the politician because they can't see the politician. But what has happened lately, too, is they're afraid to even speak to you and I on the air. They'll talk to you on the phone, but they don't want to go on the air. Well, they're afraid. There's so much fear on this island now to speak about anything that the politicians don't like, that the people have just shut up completely. I don't know if you notice it, but I think it's really bad.
That's why I want to go on record again as saying that I'm one of those persons, especially coming through the ranks of teaching, believe that we should be teaching our children. We should have an educational system that teach our children about civic education. because it places on you, and as an individual, a responsibility to the community, to your immediate family, and to your to St. Martin, where we live, where we understand the laws and the implication of laws and how it shape us to be better citizens. The absence of that type of education to our children brings them right into that illusion talk that we were having all along, where they're expecting certain things and not getting it. They will even do the uncommon thing, the worst thing.
But at the same time, you and I, we can't imagine the pain and the suffering the parents of that young boy is going through right now. It's extremely painful for them, and I think sometimes we miss the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. But also, when we are so occupied with other things, we falter by not having that valuable time with family and children and so on. And it's not a bad thing, but when it's not encouraged, when people are not moved towards more social aspect, I don't know. I can't.
There's so much pressure on everyone.
Well, that's true, because I know some of these people, and the thing is, you don't know what's going through the minds of people really. So how they handle it is always an issue.
Yeah, you're right. I'm so careful now, right? Because sometimes you see a person and you think that, the person is angry, but they have so much problems.
Yeah.
They're thinking, and when you walk up there and you smile, you say hello, and then you talk, it's like this person just changes completely. Mm-hmm. They light up because, they feel so bad about themselves at the time. There's so many problems on this island. Look, I'm not a psychologist. I have a daughter who's a psychologist, but I'm not. And the thing about it is, when you speak with psychologists, and they tell you there are numerous variables and problems and causes in a community like us, especially when it's small. But again, I'm just a guy on television. I don't know much. I just talk about the issues and how I feel, because I get a lot of feedback from a lot of people. And as a man that was born here and lived all my life here, I love the island. I love the people of St. Martin. And I think that part of our problem, and normally I don't like to say this, but comes from our political parties and the way the government is being run now. This is not good. Mm-hmm. Our people are being left behind. And they're being left behind because the government don't see any need to include them in this whole process of getting rich. You want to become a millionaire? Become a politician. At the same time, our people can't get access to anything. Mm-hmm. You can't purchase a home. All you can buy is a car. You can't start a business. The bureaucracy for business and how you're hunted down with taxes. You're the first to be taxed, the last to get anything that is good. It's not good.
Mm-hmm. But all that you have been saying just now has a domino effect to it as well, because that's how we lose our important resources, our children. How many have left to have gone on to do their studies and have little interest in wanting to come back because they can't see themselves progressing here.
Yeah.
So we are slowly doing harm to our most valuable resources, which is our children, without even realizing it. And all it gets is lip service. Yeah, go away, come back. Come back. Some will ask you, come back to what?
Yeah, no, I always tell people, when you see them living on Killam, they're going into exile. Mm-hmm. They're not coming back. Even if they want to come back, they're not welcome back. I'll tell you what, Mr. Moore, we have to go to a break, all right? Mm-hmm. When we come back, we're going to continue speaking with Mr. Wendell Moore of different, you got so many shows, but I can't keep up with all these names. On PGD2, you're on at 12 midday, Sundays also at 10 o'clock.
That's right.
And Wednesdays at 5 o'clock.
That's correct.
And Seymour, that's the journal.
Seymour Journal.
Going to be right back. Please do this right here on Oral Gibbs Live.
Hey, Don't guess about your insurance. Be sure that you're covered. Like with your car. Like your home. Be sure to be covered in case of a fire, flood, hurricane, or some other natural disaster. And travel insurance. Because you never know what could happen when you're on vacation. You could lose your passport, your luggage, or have an accident. So be sure that you're covered.
Insure yourself fast and easy with Be Sure from the Windward Islands Bank Limited. Visit your preferred WIB branch, WIB Insurance Services, or BeSureStMartin.com. Get your Be Sure insurance at the Windward Islands Bank, your partners in progress.
For real? Somebody came in here and steal my curtains? Well, it's a good thing I'm insured with Be Sure. Because even the contents of my apartment are covered. Don't play guessing games with your insurance. Be sure.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
My guest on the Oral Gibbs Live, Mr. Wendell Moore, and you're either watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or listening to us on Hot 99.9 FM radio. So I want to jump back to politics. I don't want to put you in the spot. Who's your favorite politician?
I don't have one.
You don't have one, right?
No, I don't have one. And be honest, because I'm trying to look into our characters, those persons who are putting themselves forward to be political leaders, and I'm looking for somebody who would understand. I'm seeing a few, but everybody always start with good intentions, but sooner or later you get corrupted, I guess. So I don't really have a one that I can. I wouldn't even put myself in a position to name any one person that's my favorite.
I wouldn't expect you to answer that either. You put yourself in a big round. But how you feel? You feel like you want to vote?
Not, as a matter of fact, if I'm going to speak of me, I have not yet. I'm not convinced at the moment who I should lend my support to.
It's amazing because you can see how politicians love you before the election and how they despise you after the election. And when you have that ballot in your hand, you're a powerful man.
With politicians, overall, it's always a love-hate relationship, especially when it comes to people like you and I who are out there. They love you when you would say something about them that makes them look good.
Yeah.
And they hate you when you do something or say something that doesn't reflect good on them. But the worst thing for a person like you and I who have to be neutral most of the times is to be operating under the sleeves of anyone. I don't wish to do that. My modus operandi, or what is most important to me, is that I can inform and educate our people of their civic roles and responsibilities to their community. And if I have to go back to the former President of the United States who made the statement, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, that is only something that you can adapt to when you understand that you don't wait for the country to do for you. What are you doing to make it better?
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't see hardly because everybody is more about themselves.
So let me ask you, you've had politicians recently in the show?
I've been having them on a regular basis. And to be honest, many of them sounds genuine. There is one who I won't call, I won't mention their name, but they convinced me inside that they would have to do, if they're saying this, if they're elected, they would have to do what they said they were going to do. But they seem genuine about having a plan as to how you're going to do. But the adaptation of it is going to be another issue because I don't think our people understand that kind of talk. Right now, it's about, well, who gives me the most money? I'm going to vote for them. And then whatever the problem that comes after, it's not a big issue. But then they complain.
Yeah, but how you feel then, you said the complaint, how you feel about the whole issue of charging to do political interviews?
That is something that sprung on me just recently. And that is something to be careful with. We have always, on St. Martin, all my life, I know that one of the things that people used to do is the moment you put yourself on a list, the postulation day, people know that you are a politician, because you're going to tout and do everything that would make you look good. And to grant these people airtime for free should be safeguarded. And I know back in the day, that's what we used to do. Now, no one has postulated themselves just yet. By the way, I wanted to just touch on the election a little bit, but I'll finish my thought here. And yet, most of the media houses are charging a fee for these people to be on the air. But I feel that there is an obligation for the ministers who are ultimately responsible for their ministry, and they are directly connected to what they are doing or not doing on behalf of the people. And the members of parliament who are duly elected, they should have access to the media to give an account to the people they represent for what they're doing or lack of not doing anything at all. And if they have to pay for it, well, they can decide whether they will or they will not. But these politicians don't mind, because it's all about grandstanding and being popular. They don't mind paying for it because they know once they don't pay for the time and they are on air saying what they want to say and win over the hearts and minds of people, when the election is over and they get back in, is their windows up, they're busy on their phone, you don't have access to them, it's over. So maybe charging them for airtime. But the Prime Minister made a statement as well, or which I would like to refer to. She said that what is being done now is unfair, but what she don't understand, that people have business to run. And if they see the need to put a price tag on their airtime or even up the cost, at this time, there is nothing that they can do. They are independent business. They can't do anything about it.
Yes, supply and demand.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm. So if you want it, you buy it. If you don't want it, you don't buy it. And then something else came up it could not have been last election. It could have been before. Because like you mentioned, I've been in this media business for so long. And one politician said, okay, when I had to, when it was election time, I had to pay to get on air. No, I want them to come in to talk about whatever, and they say, no, you should pay me. We should pay them to come on here. You see, the thing is...
Who make a statement? I don't think a politician would be so crazy to make a statement.
But it was
like
made in a cynical way. It could have been funny, but you said it.
Yeah, because
so it's somewhere up there.
Yeah, but you know what, you got elected, but the people say you're responsible.
Exactly. You should be ready anytime as a politician to come forward and give an account, because you're accountable to the people for whatever is required of you, whatever is asked of you on behalf of the people, knowing what you're doing or what you're not doing. Because there's a reason why they don't do certain things, although they never tell you the truth.
Right.
And there's a reason, but when they do, they're quick to be out there. They want to be out there telling everybody, oh, we do this, we're doing this, we're doing that. But when they don't do, you see, and here is the love-hate relationship that the media personnel usually have with these politicians, because once they don't look good, they don't like that. And I deal with people overall on a daily basis who complain bitterly about what's going on. And I don't know if they are doing their assessment to realize that these people are making these statements because something is not happening that should happen. Like law enforcement. That is something that I can't imagine that we are going to continue the way we are doing things without us setting standard based on our laws, when in fact you have people who are coming and are telling us, even the Dutch do that on a regular basis, telling us what we need to be doing. You have people who visit us and make statements about what we are not doing and what and we are not waking up to these realities and realizing that, we have an obligation to our people, to be honest. And also, I don't know, some people, we have a few politicians that are out of commission at the moment because they've gotten into problems with the law. And that may have a lot to do with the corrupt behavior that some politicians were taking lightly and just doing, realizing that you are not realizing that you are harming your people, you are taking advantage of your position and everything else. All that is not good. The Dutch label all that, but have we been able to arrest it completely? I don't know. But there are other things that we need to be putting our energy and our time into. And you and I have a responsibility to bring these to the surface, on the table, talk about them. Because when we do talk about them, it helps them to realize and remind them of what they are supposed to be doing on our behalf.
Well, you know, I think all politicians maybe tried their best, but their best wasn't good at all. I'm very disappointed in this government. I really expected more. And where I'm disappointed is that they've left their own people behind. No other government like this one have left their people behind. It's 4 years of waste. All they had to brag about is that they kept the government together for 4 years, which they didn't do anyway because the opposition didn't want to bring down the government. More people have lost their homes during this government, lost their homes and their business, local people, than any other government before.
Mm-hmm. Well, part of their problem, I guess, were being very secretive about what the realities were, because you can't help but acknowledge that they had the country during a difficult time too as well. And I'm trying to be fair here, because the general feeling is, because we've been experiencing this all these years, where little or nothing were being done by our leaders on behalf of the people, to the point where we were expecting more but not getting it. But then these new folks who have gotten in, you expect them to do better. And by them not doing better, people are going to make their own personal assessment that, like you just said, they leave us all behind. They didn't care about us. Maybe they would have done better if the country was in better shape, you know? But if they had come out, telling people what the realities are, and yes, we would like to address some of these problems, but we can't. But they said nothing.
But we were all fake news. We fake. They tell the people, listen to their radio station, go to their DCOM, forget about the traditional media. They're all fake. That's what this government is saying.
Well, yeah, because they don't want you to say, what the realities are, because the moment you say it, it's a bad reflection on them. And then again, love-hate relationship. They hate you the most.
But then at the same time now, they're worried that you're going to carry up the course of interviews. Why come on the show? You don't need the media.
No.
You have your
oh
radio
yes, they
station.
do.
They don't need the
oh
media.
yes, they do, because they have to continue trying to bluff people that they need to continue be there. I mean, you ever heard a politician come forward and say, you know what? If you don't vote for me, that's okay. But if you should vote for me, because they would never tell you that it's me you have to vote for. What you need? I'm going to help you. We're going to do. We are the ones doing. Yeah. You see how much projects coming out at this last minute? This is the same thing that was happening all along.
Well,
so they haven't brought anything new. They're following the same trend.
We out of time. I want to thank you for coming.
No problem.
Always listen to you on the radio, PGD2 at 12 and Sunday at 10, right? And
Sunday
Wednesday
at
10. At 5.
5 in the afternoon.
All right. Mr. Mo, thanks. Anything you want to add quickly?
Well, you know, I have a busy schedule, but I commit myself to doing it in the best interest of what's good for St. Martin and its people.
Well, thanks again and much success. All right?
Thank you much.
Okay. That's it for now. See you next time right here on Hot 99.9 FM radio, Facebook, and YouTube. Take care. Bye.